The sound of the crowd is deafening as you step out onto the field of the LA Coliseum for the first time. Amidst the roaring, you hear the announcers and the commentators speaking into their microphones, but they're not talking about your team. As you line up with your teammates on the field, you watch as the opposing team's eyes follow your every movement. A sly glance to the crowd reveals that, yeah, all of them are staring directly at you. But you can't blame them for their stares. You know that it's weird for someone like you to be standing there on that field. After all, in a field of over 80,000 people, you're standing right in the middle, the only black player. Here in America, we love sports. We study them, we play them, we watch them, and even non-fans can name a major athlete from any major sport, especially if that sport is football. And football is growing more and more diverse every year. I mean, about right now we have 68% or so players that are black in the NFL. But as obsessed as we are with our football, people still tend to forget who broke ground for those 68% of players to play. The man who did this, his name is Kenny Washington. And he is my grandfather. Growing up, I was really confused on why he wasn't mentioned during Black History Month. So I'd like to teach you guys a little bit about him and my experience as being his granddaughter and what it's like to have my own piece of Black history. But first, a little bit about Kenny Washington. He was born in 1918 in Los Angeles, California. He spent most of his adolescence in Lincoln Heights. He soon became well known around the area by the time he got to high school. See, everyone knew how talented he was at baseball and football. And soon, all of LA, and then after that, all of Southern California knew his name. It earned him a spot on UCLA's Bruin football team. There, he played alongside his best friend, Woody Strode, and Jackie Robinson. Yeah, that Jackie Robinson who broke the color barrier. I know. But because of the color barrier in the NFL at the time, he couldn't move on to the major leagues. So he played in the minor leagues with the Hollywood Bears for a few seasons. But he soon got his chance. When the Cleveland Rams wanted to move to LA, they wanted to play out of the LA Coliseum and make that their home. The Coliseum only had one requirement. They had to give Kenny a tryout. And they did. And yeah, they were impressed. And just like that, in 1946, he formally broke the color barrier in the NFL. He played with the Rams for a few seasons before retiring. Now, growing up, I was very, very confused. See, most of what I just told you, I didn't know until fairly recently. My parents were only able to explain it to one way to me when I was little, and it's, well, he's kind of like Jackie Robinson, but for football and not baseball. So imagine my confusion when Black History Month comes around and there's no Kenny Washington in the lecture. So I used to ask my teachers about it, and they would apologize because they didn't know who he was. I would tell the other children about it, and they called me a liar because that's what kids do. And then in middle school, I told one of my teachers about him, and she looked him up. Now, at this point, he didn't so much as have a Wikipedia page about him, but she found a lot of information, and she included him in our lecture that February. In high school, the football coach used to issue a Black History Month trivia quiz. I corrected him. He had said that Woody Strode, who integrated right after my grandfather did, he said that he had integrated the NFL. And I said, no, it wasn't Woody Strode, it was my grandfather, Kenny Washington. His reply, oh yeah? Did your grandpa tell you that? But just a few months after that incident, my mother got a call. A woman named Gretchen Atwood was writing a book, and she wanted to interview my mother to get some more information about my grandfather. And as I watched my mom being interviewed, I was amazed. Somebody else knew. Somebody else cared. And then it's like everything started happening at once. Just a few months later, my cousin Kirk got a call from ESPN. They were going to make a special chronicling black football players called Third and Long. There he is. Isn't he handsome? Sorry, he's married. And as I watched the special that Christmas, I was amazed because I saw so many pictures of my grandfather that I have never seen before. Just a few months after that, we found out that his old high school regularly had memorial games for him. And they even had the Kenny Washington Award that went to the best football player every year. A few months after we found out this, a Sports Illustrated issue came out. When we got the issue, I very promptly took it to my high school football coach to read. The best news came in 2014, the year I graduated from high school. Epix was going to make a movie. That's my grandfather, there, second from the left, and Woody Strode, who came into the football right after him, and then the two players who integrated on the East Coast, Bill Willis and Marion Motley. And as I sat there at that premiere, I cried. I saw so many people talk about him, even his old teammates. And they talked about how during games the other players would put him at the bottom of the dog pile, how they would kick him in his weak knees, and how they would rub chalk into his eyes. But they also talked about how much they loved him and how often he would turn the other cheek. It was then that I knew that it wasn't a matter of people not caring. There are a few reasons why you probably don't know my grandfather's name, and not all of them are bad. It was that in 1947, a year after my grandfather integrated football, Jackie Robinson integrated baseball. Now, I don't know how much you guys know about the 40s, but back then, baseball really was America's pastime. And people were excited. They just watched history be made. And Jackie Robinson's career and personality, it was bigger and lasted longer than my grandfather's. Now, make no mistake, my grandfather faced a lot of the same challenges that he did, maybe even more. I mean, he was a running back. The color of his skin only gave the other team more incentive to take him down. And it was also that baseball season started before football season. They saw Jackie Robinson first, and they were excited. It's not that they didn't care about my grandfather. It was just that he became a small footnote. But that's why I want to share his story with you today. Because just this past February, I got some of the most amazing news I have ever heard in reference to my grandfather. A group of 44 fifth graders from Johnson City, New York. Players like Donovan McNabb. I'm sorry, that's Donovan McNabb. has expressed his appreciation for my grandfather's legacy. And then other historic athletes, like Rafer Johnson. That's him on the left talking to Woody Strode's son, Kalai. Some of you guys might remember him for carrying the torch in the 80s for the Olympic Games. He's a former Olympic decathlete. And he has spoken a lot about how much it meant to him growing up to see a man that looked like him achieve success. So, fast forward a little bit to this past February. A group of 44 fifth graders learned about my grandfather. And when they learned about him, they watched the movie. And they were shocked to learn that my grandfather isn't in the Pro Football Hall of Fame for this. So they started an online petition for his cause. Their goal was 1,000 signatures. They're over 5,000 now. And when me and my mom talked to their teacher, they said they're so excited. They zealously have been writing letters to Hall of Fame committee members, to famous athletes, and they even made sure to include in that they are going to write one to President Obama. And as happy as I am that they want to make this change for my grandfather and put him in the Hall of Fame, I am so much happier that they got to learn about him. I didn't get that when I was in 5th grade. And I just hope that more 5th graders, 6th graders, 7th graders, whatever age, are going to be able to learn about him. You see, I just want my family's small part of Black history to be part of everyone's Black history. To inspire kids out there that it's okay to be the first. That it's okay to be a true pioneer. So that one day, kids across America, they're going to be inspired by Kenny Washington and Jackie Robinson and Muhammad Ali and the hundreds of other Black pioneers throughout history. Thank you.